Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. Alright, guys, on this episode of Bullet Points to start the week out, we have got to address an opinion piece that's tying into an overall narrative switch which we've seen in the gun control side of the argument relatively recently. Now, you guys, if you watch Jared from Guns and Gadgets, he actually introduced this weekend, but the left is really seeming to target the stand your ground laws. And of course, we're going to provide reinforcements because he's dead on. He is absolutely correct. They are adjusting to that side of this argument. But what's interesting is the way that they're going about doing it. Now, you guys know on the bullet points, every single morning, we address the opinion pieces and really break through that echo chamber on the left with fact and logic. That's what we're going to do on this video because some of the things are self-defeating arguments coming from the Washington Post. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below. I want to hear from you guys on this one. Does this really defeat their own argument like I think it does, or am I out the door crazy? Like I said, it's linked in the description box. We're going to do a quick ad read from our new sponsor for this week's videos. Then we'll get right into it, and I can't wait to hear from you what you guys think on this one. Now, our sponsor for this week's video is Woox, W-O-O-X. They are a new outdoor brand based in Hickory, North Carolina, and their mission is to create high-end products for outdoor enthusiasts, and they do look pretty legit, I'll be honest. The company is the wild child of Manelli Group, an Italian company started in 1937 by Francesco Manelli and his three sons in northern Italy. By making gear in-house, they're able to provide higher quality, better looking, high-end products at a fraction of the going craftsmanship's price. If you're into the outdoors, do it beautifully by clicking the link in the description box below and checking out Woox today. And thank you so much to Woox for sponsoring this week's videos because they enable us to bring this content directly to you. So, let's dive in and let's make this happen. Check it out. Opinion. Do stand your ground laws produce more gun homicides? Well, that's an interesting question. It's an interesting shift from the narrative that they've been doing. But before I get too deep into it, check out the actual definition of stand your ground laws in Florida. And then keep that in mind as we go through what they're saying in this article. Florida's law states, quote, a person who is not engaged in an unlawful activity and who is attacked in any other place where he or she has a right to be has no duty to retreat. That duty to retreat is important. And has the right to stand his or her ground and meet force with force, including deadly force. If he or she reasonably believes it is necessary to do so to prevent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. Essentially, that is a defensive posture law. That is not, we're arguing, so now I'm going to escalate it, because that's where they're going to go in this opinion piece. And that's what these people do, but we are going to defeat it like we did defeat everything else. Let's dive in here. I'm going to show you how they self-defeat, first of all. Many people in other countries believe that the entirety of America is a kind of modern-day Tombstone, or at least the holiday version of the frontier town, where everyone is armed, shots ring out at all hours, and arguments are settled with an exchange of gunfire. Probably because you're endless propaganda. Anyway. But that's not true. We both know it's not true, but here we go to the crux of the article. But it's not just the number of guns Americans have or the rate at which we kill each other that leave people elsewhere shaking their heads. It's also the laws that make it possible. Here goes the stand your ground laws. Listen to this shift. Which is why a new study on the consequences of stand your ground laws is of particular import. Since these laws have become so popular in Republican-run states in recent years. Ooh, Republican-run, you got to put that little jab in there because this is definitely not something that a leftist would do. No, it's definitely Republicans' fault. Now here's where we start to get into the propaganda and they start to defeat themselves. Check this out. The very names of these laws was created by their proponents to evoke principle and courage, to argue without quite saying so that it's what real men do when threatened. They stand their ground and they shoot. It's not what happens. A firearm is the last resort. I'll stand my ground if you're coming after my family or something important to me or hurting another if I have a gun or not. It's not about a gun, it's about what's in here, but that's another conversation. But they're trying to frame this from the perspective of, if you have a disagreement or a slight, you're going to immediately go to a gun. Well, that's a problem up here and in here, not a problem of what's on your hip. Just saying. And that's also a misrepresentation of what's going. But watch how quickly this turns away from, it's the stand your ground laws, to now it's a regional problem, because the argument gets defeated right here. Check this out from the same article. Large increases for homicide and firearm homicide rates were associated with the enactment of stand your ground laws in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, and Missouri. These increases range from 16.2 to 33.5%, with firearm homicides typically showing larger increases than total homicides. Stand your ground laws were not significantly associated with changes in homicides or firearm homicide rates in a handful of states, including Arizona, Indiana, Michigan, Nevada, Oklahoma, Texas, and West Virginia. So, some of the most populous gun ownership states. And also, I thought the whole problem was stand your ground laws across the board. So, it's only in a couple Republican-led states, not all of them. So, that would mean the exact same law exists in all these places. It's not the law. Well, that's where we get into the next segment. Listen to where this author goes now. For some time, psychologists and sociologists have hypothesized that the culture of honor, particularly prevalent among white Southerners, there it is, could account for higher rates of violence there. The culture is vigilant about slights, sensitive to any perceived threat to masculinity, and treats such threats with violence. Really? So now it's about race and culture. It's not about the stand your ground laws, because I thought it was about the stand your ground laws. I mean, am I way off on this? Anyway, here's the way they wrap this up. What isn't in doubt, however, is that stand your ground laws are explicitly intended to make it easier for people to face no legal consequence in situations where arguments become fatal due to the presence of a gun. It's not arguments. Stand your ground laws are meant to design people from action prevention, not arguments. It's very important. And that's an idea, you could argue, that is encouraged by all of American culture. You mean self-responsibility, defending what's yours and defending those that you love? Yeah, I'm going to own that one. This is what they're doing, guys. They went, in this one article, they went from the world sees us XYZ. It's a Republican-led problem. Stand your ground laws are the issue. Then it goes into the fact that, oh, by the way, but stand your ground laws, they don't have the same problem in half the states that are Republican-led, but they do in others. So therefore, it's got to be the Southern fault, and now it's white guy's fault. So clearly, it's stand your ground laws. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will see you tonight at the 9 p.m. segment, and that's what I've got for you today. I'm Braden. See you later.